Aurora and Arthur Petrova, a very disastrous Christmas fete at school. At Harrow Lodge Primary, the atmosphere's bleak, in the Honchurch chill where the wind starts to shriek. Friday, 16th of December, year 16 is the date, as Petar stands fuming by the wrought iron gate. With his blue glasses glinting, he looks at his watch, prepared for a fate he is certain they'll botch. What a load of old bollocks, he growls at the boy, whose soldier attire brings him no festive joy. Arthur stands rigid in khaki green dross, while his father laments the financial-based loss. Get a move on, you wanker, Petar barks with a sneer. I've better things to do than be stuck with you here. Aurora emerges, a vision in pink, with a look that would drive any father to drink. In an Austrian dirndl she twirls with a flair, with a pink feathery cowgirl hat perched on her hair. Look at me, Mrs. Ressa. I'm the belle of the ball, she shouts as she skips past the Victorian wall. Mrs. Rachel Ressa, 38 on this day, watches the girl in a state of dismay. Your outfit's an oxymoron, Aurora, my dear, the teacher remarks with a hint of a sneer. Though the dirndl is lovely, quite loquacious and bright, in this grey London gloom, it's a jarring themed sight. Mrs. Ressa just sighs, for it's her birthday, you see, and she'd rather be home with a glass and some tea. Eeky dogdun, Rachel, Petar mutters with spite, though this fete is a pile of steaming horse-shite. Mrs. Ressa glares back. Tessakur ederim, mate, but don't be a prick, or you'll be out of the gate. The diversity here is a London-based blend, but Petar is certain it's the world's bitter end. 40 minutes, no more, he tells the young lad. Being a good dad is just making him mad. The TA uses slang. Don't be a bellend, Petar. The fete is quite lovely, both near and quite far. Maika mustara, Petar swears at the sleet, and the puddles of mud forming under his feet. Stay off the horses, Mrs. Ressa warns the young girl, as Aurora's pink skirts give a defiant themed whirl. Arthur isn't concerned with his father's dark mood. He's focused on stalls and on mountains of food. He's a soldier on scout for a sugary prize, with a look of pure greed in his wide, hungry eyes. Come on, Dad, look, there's fudge and Yule logs. He ignores the complaints about weather and dogs. The edible logs are a chocolatey trap, and Arthur's a greedy and hungry young chap. Stop eating like a bastard, Petar yells in the crowd. But the boy is ecstatic and shouts back quite loud. He stuffs his small pockets with toffee and fudge, while his father stands back as a cynical judge. The sugar rush hits like a bolt from the blue, in a playground of purple and black uniformed hue. Aurora finds Kiev, the ginger-furred beast, who's hoping for chaos and carnage at least. He's a villainous cat with a formalized tongue who hates every carol that's ever been sung. Aurora eats marshmallows, pink and so sweet, ignoring the cat at the soles of her feet. You look like a marshmallow girl, purrs the cat, an abysmal disaster in a cowgirl-style hat. Aurora just laughs. You're a cunt, Kiev, go! As she watches the clouds start to sprinkle with snow. The cat narrows his eyes with a sibilant hiss, thinking, this fate is a moment I wouldn't quite miss. He stalks through the mud with a predatory grace, with a look of pure malice upon his orange face. The pathetic fallacy mirrors his spite as the afternoon fades into a shivering night. But the sugar takes hold and the ecstasy fades, as Aurora is haunted by chocolatey shades. The sweets exacerbate the bile in her gut, while her eyes start to water and eventually shut. With a sudden convulsion, she lets out a groan, standing there in the playground, entirely alone. She accidentally vomits a fountain of pink, causing the festive-themed stalls to properly stink. Mrs. Ressa runs over. Can'm, what a mess. You've ruined the silk of your Austrian dress. The vomit is neon, a bubblegum hue, splashed on the floor and the tip of her shoe. It's the fudge, Aurora whimpers, her face turning pale, while the wind starts to let out a sibilant wail. Mrs. Risa grabs towels. Proper mega shite this, as the birthday she wanted begins to go miss. Aurora wipes vomit and spots the white mare. Comanche is standing in the cold winter air. The girl grabs her hat with the feathery trim, though her chances of riding are looking quite slim. "I'm the queen of the cowgirls," she shouts at the horse, determined to follow a dangerous course. Mrs. Risa screams, "Durr! You stay back, you hear? That horse is too old and the end is quite near." But Aurora is stubborn, loquacious, and bold, and she doesn't care what she's frequently told. Comanche stands still by the old wooden rail, a ghost of a creature, pathetic and frail. The horse's warm breath is a cloud in the sleet as Aurora approaches on mud-covered feet. "Stop being a wanker, you nag," she says low, preparing to put on a spectacular show. Petar is busy in a car park-based war with a man in a Nissan he's grown to abhor. "You total fucking arsehole. Move your car, mate," he shouts at a driver who's blocking the gate. His red Audi A3 is idling and hot in a cramped and abysmal Honchurch-based lot. Arthur watches his father, his khaki cap bent, wondering where all the Christmas joy went. "He's a proper bellend," Arthur says to the hound, as Harlow the Dalmatian paces the ground. Petar's face is a mask of incandescent rage, like a tiger trapped inside a suburban-type cage. "I'll punch your lights out," he roars through the glass, as he waits for the traffic to eventually pass. The red paint of the Audi is slick in the rain, reflecting a man who is clearly in pain. Aurora leaps up on the mare's snowy back, with a "Yee-haw!" that sounds like a whip's sudden crack. She digs in her heels and she screams at the crowd, looking arrogant, foolish, and terribly proud. "Look at me, you wankers. I'm riding the wind," unaware of the ways that she's already sinned. "Durr! Stop it, Aurora," Mrs. Risa cries out, but the girl ignores every cautionary shout. Comanche takes off in a gallop of fear as the end of the fete starts to rapidly near. The white horse is flying through mud and through slush in a chaotic, frantic, and dangerous rush. The pink dirndl billows, a flag of pure pride, as Aurora enjoys her disastrous ride. "I'm ecstatic," she bellows, her hat flying low, while the onlookers watch as the horse starts to go. She forces the horse to a fence that's too high, underneath the dark weight of the leaden-hued sky. Comanche's front hooves clip the top of the wood, and things go as badly as everyone thought they would. Crack. The sound echoes, a splintering sound, as the mare and the girl are both slammed to the ground. Comanche's face hits the top rail with a thud, and she accidentally tumbles deep into the mud. The jaw of the horse is a shattered red mess, a hyperbole of horror and visceral stress. Aurora is thrown in a tangle of pink as the Christmas-themed joy starts to rapidly sink. The cowgirl hat lands in a puddle of gray, marking the end of this wretched themed day. The horse screams in agony, sibilant and sharp, like a dissonant chord on a broken stringed harp. Petar hears the screaming and runs to the sight, his face turning pale in the dimming of light. "Oh, for fuck's sake, Aurora, look what you've done," he bellows at her and his khaki-clad son. A woman moves forward, her face full of care, with a Norfolk-tinged voice and dark, braided hair. It's Drive Jess French, the vet from the East, who's come to attend to the suffering beast. "The poor thing is mangled," she says with a groan, kneeling down by the horse on the cold, muddy stone. She checks the mare's pulse, and she looks at the brake, knowing there's only one choice she can make. "That's abysmal," Jess mutters in her East Country drawl, as the shadows grow long by the school's brickwork wall. Petar stands over them, checking his watch, seeing another life moment he's managed to botch. Aurora's on her knees now, her pink dirndl torn and stained. The weight of her stupidity is all that has remained. "The injury is abysmal, kid," Dr. Jess says with a sigh. "The jaw is smashed to pieces. It's time for her to die." Petar stands above them. "What's the cost of this repair?" His voice is like a thunderclap in the freezing winter air. "She can't be fixed," says Dr. Jess. "The kindest thing is sleep." Petar looks at the mare and his anger starts to seep. "You stupid little cunt," he roars, turning on his girl. 1,000 pounds of horseflesh gone. My head is in a whirl. He doesn't offer comfort, just a verbal, biting sting, resenting every penny spent on this disastrous thing. Aurora looks up at him, her eyes wide behind her lens, while the vet tries to calm her and make some quick amends. "Shut your mouth, Petar," Dr. Jess snaps with an icy glare. "There's a dying animal here and a child in deep despair." Arthur stands back with a look of pure dread, thinking of horses and things that are dead. His khaki green trousers are splattered and wet in the worst Christmas fete that he's ever seen yet. Harlow whines softly and nudges his hand, the only kind soul in this muddy-hued land. "Is she going to heaven?" the little boy asks, as the adults continue their grim, bloody tasks. Petar is busy just counting the cost, mourning the money he's already lost. "She's a goner," Petar snaps, "and it's all her own fault, bringing the festive-themed joy to a halt." Harlow looks up with a formal-type gaze through the damp and the cold of the afternoon haze. "The master is cruel," the pink-spotted dog seems to say, as the last of the light starts to flicker away. Mrs. Risa approaches, her birthday a wreck, with a scarf wrapped around her Turkish-born neck. "Aurora, you listen," she says with a bite. "You've caused a disaster this Christmas-themed night." The sibilance of her voice is a sharp, cold hiss, reminding the girl of all she's done amiss. "You didn't listen to warnings I gave, and now the poor horse is destined for the grave." Aurora can't speak, she just lets out a wail, looking pathetic and broken and frail. "I just wanted to gallop," she cries through her tears as she faces the darkest of all of her fears. "Galloping leads to a fall, don't you see?" Mrs. Risa remarks with a lack of decree. The teacher is tired, her birthday is gone, as the tragedy continues to linger on. Dr. Jess looks at Petar, her blood starting to boil, at the man who is standing on Essex-born soil. "She's a child, for God's sake. Stop calling her names," she shouts as the sunset lets out its last flames. "I don't care for your money or your red Audi A3. I care for this horse and its last agony." Petar spits on the ground with a look of pure spite, preparing to finish this horrible night. "I work like a dog in the Romford-based rain, just to see all my money go down the school drain." He turns his back on the vet and the beast, hating the Fete and the people, at least. "You're a proper prick, Petar," Dr. Jess says with a scowl, while the wind in the trees lets out a long, mournful howl. She ignores his toxic and incandescent rage as she turns the last leaf of the white horse's page. The moment is heavy, a personification of grief, as the end of the struggle brings a somber relief. Aurora reaches out with a mud-covered hand to touch the last horse in this haunted land. "I'm sorry, Comanche," she whispers so low, as the vet lets the needle's dark medicine flow. The white mare is silent, a ghost in the slush, as the playground is hit by a deafening hush. The pink cowgirl hat is a sodden-type mess, a marker of arrogance and youthful distress. Comanche's eyes glaze in the shivering cold, as the tragedy of the fate starts to unfold. The horse is a statue of bone and of white, lost to the dark of the London-born night. "Ashes to ashes," the wind seems to say, as the spirit of Christmas is taken away. "Get in the car!" Petar roars at the pair, his shouting polluting the cold winter air. He storms to the Audi, the diesel's loud hum, a sign of the lecture that's shortly to come. Arthur follows behind with a heavy-set heart, watching his family falling apart. "Move your arse, Arthur," Petar screams at the lad, looking properly, truly, and dangerously mad. The 2009 Audi is a red-painted cage, for a man who is consumed by his financial-based rage. He slams the car door with a thunderous thud, splattering the windows with droplets of mud. The transmission shifts with a metallic-type clunk, as Petar's soul sinks like a piece of old junk. "Buckle up, you little shits," he growls at the glass, watching the ruins of the school Fete pass. Kiev the ginger cat watches the scene from on high, with a glint of pure malice in his predatory eye. He perches on brickwork, a witness to fate, while the Petrova family leaves through the gate. Harlow the Dalmatian is shivering in the rear, his pink-spotted hide showing tremors of fear. The cat licks a paw. "What a beautiful fuck-up," he purrs, ignoring the dog's low and whimpering stirs. The princess is broken, the soldier is sad, and the father is properly, screamingly mad. One is a villain, the other a saint, in a world that is covered in blood and pink paint. Kiev jumps down with a soft feline bound, leaving no trace on the blood-spattered ground. The cat is a master of spite and of gloom, as he watches the Petrovas drive to their doom. Dr. Jess and Mrs. Risa stand alone in the yard, finding the silence particularly hard. The school is a wreck of Christingles and mud, stained by the horse's unfortunate blood. "That man is a nightmare," Risa says with a sigh, looking up at the charcoal-gray London-born sky. "He's a proper prick, Rachel," Jess says with a frown. "Just like half of the people in this wretched town." They stand in the slush as the snow starts to fall, shadows of women against the school wall. The birthday is over. The horse is now dead, and both of them wish they were safely in bed. "Happy birthday, I guess," Jess mutters with pain, as she wipes a dark smear of the horse blood and rain. "To Secre Ederum," Risa replies with a groan, feeling the cold in her Essex-born bone. Petar grips the wheel until his knuckles turn white, driving through the dark of the Honchurch-based night. "1,000 pounds, Aurora. Do you know what that means?" he shouts as he drives through the suburban-type scenes. "Your mother's in Romford, working her fingers to bone, while you kill a horse on a school ground of stone." He thinks of Mariha and her absent-type face, and the ways that their lives are a financial-based disgrace. The move to the suburbs was meant to be grand, but it's turned into a disaster they hadn't quite planned. He swerves the red Audi around a sharp bend, wishing the night would eventually end. The diesel is roaring, a cacophonous sound, as the car speeds away from the school's muddy ground. "Disilut," he yells at his own reflection, lost in a state of absolute dark dejection. Aurora and Arthur sit still in the back, as the world outside turns to a charcoal-hued black. The pink of her dirndl is an oxymoron to see, in a car full of hatred and dark misery. Arthur reaches out, and he takes his sister's hand, the only two left in this desolate land. "It wasn't your fault," he whispers with dread, though the image of the horse is still stuck in his head. They accidentally catch a glimpse in the glass, watching the dark London hedgerows pass. The sugar has gone, and the ecstasy's dead, replaced by a heavy and lead-filled type dread. The red Audi A3 is a metal-walled cell, a suburban-based version of a Christmas-themed hell. "I hate him," Aurora whispers so low, as the car carries them through the slush and the snow. They pull into the drive of 18 Haraway at the end of this wretched and disastrous day. The fete is a memory of blood and of debt, the worst Christmas moment they've ever had yet. Friday, 16th of December is done, with no joy for the father, the girl, or the son. Petar kills the engine, and the silence is deep, a secret of failure they're destined to keep. "Get out," he says softly, his voice full of hate, as they walk through the clicking of the garden-type gate. Aurora drags her pink skirt through the mud and the rain, carrying the weight of her arrogance and pain. The red Audi sits there, cooling down in the night, reflecting the house's dim, yellow-hued light. The story is finished, the tragedy's complete, in the heart of a cold and a London-born street.